Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Krista B from Those Wrestling Girls, and you know I have to tell you about my dope ass rock shirt that I finally got in the mail thanks to Ripple Junction. Ripple Junction is the best place to get all your authentic tees, whether it's WWE, whether it's The Office, whether it's any show that you love and mark over. You go over there, you order your shirt, you put it on, and boom. Also, you have to use the code Those Wrestling Girls to get 15% off your purchase. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to ripplejunction.com, order your shirt, type in the code Those Wrestling Girls, and you're also going to tell them that we sent you. And on that note, it's your girl Krista B, and I am out.
Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. It's Those Wrestling Girls. It's your girl Krista
B.and Queen P.R.
And today we have another spotlight episode, something that was long overdue, something that PR wanted and kept stressing that we do. So today we are definitely doing a spotlight episode on the one and only Mickie James. Mickie James is a legend in this game. She has literally paved the way. It's like when you mention Trish and Lita, you cannot not mention Mickie James. It's just only right that she's mentioned with those two Hall of Famers, and hopefully Mickie James becomes a Hall of Famer as well.
She definitely has had a Hall of Fame worthy career. Definitely,
she has, especially because she was out for so long, and she came back. When she came back, everybody was just like, "What was your reaction when she like reemerged on the scene in WWE?"
I was surprised. Because they don't really do that with the women where like people make a surprise comeback unless it's like Trish or Lita. So when announced that she was gonna come back full time after that match with Asuka, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Because then you had Becky and the Four Horsewomen had really started doing their thing. So I was like, yo, Mickie James is perfect to add to that mix. Like she has it all, really.
Right, and she was like with Alexa and Alicia Fox. And you know, I remember when she first did the chick kick again. I'm like, hold up, that's Trish's move, but it's not.
Yo, she has
it's really Mickie's move. You know, I guess it's both of their moves. To be honest, I don't even know who used it more.
I feel like they're one of those careers, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, like Mickie James and Trish Stratus, where you can't talk about one without the other. Like Trish and Lita, like Mickie is. That storyline with Trish is so like it just goes down as like one of the best feuds, male or female, in my opinion.
It does.
She debuted and just killed it.
She killed it, and it was like when her and Trish had that stare off in the ring, everyone was just like, "Oh my gosh!" They had a story. They had a story to. A rivalry 7 years ago or however many years ago, and I'm just like, oh yes, like it just felt like you were in that, like you was in a time warp.
Yeah.
That during that time, and I'm just like, what if we was supposed to see another Trish and Mickie rivalry or face off? Like, what would that have looked like? What would that have played out to be? Because you know they're both mothers. You know, Trish is a mother of two. I'm not sure how many kids Mickie has. At least she has one. But, you know, they're both mothers. They both have other obligations outside of the ring, off the road. So I really want to know how would that played out. And, you know, knowing WWE, they probably would have did like a mother versus mother or something. I just feel like,
you know them. And there's so much there too. But so what else is exciting about us finally covering Mickie James is that it kind of moves us into a new series, because we did the Attitude Era series in the summertime, which was so much fun and everyone loved it. And we were like, we should just go through the era. So Mickie James is actually kicking off our Ruthless Aggression series.
Which is going to be fun. A cute fall into winter series that we decided to literally like come up with, because like Attitude Era, of course, hands down for us, is the best era. Like there's no other era. You can't tell us otherwise, you know. And it was just like, okay, being that Ruthless Aggression era was also a time where we started to grow up a bit and started to like not watch it as much as we used to during Attitude Era. It's also fun to go back and be like, damn, this happened. Like, and also put yourself in that situation like, what would I have done if I would have seen this at the time that it came out, that it aired, instead of us watching it from a whole different perspective, in our 30s now, so it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun trip. I feel like this is gonna be a fun journey.
Yeah. So for those that aren't that familiar with Mickie James, just some quick little bio, some fun facts about her. She was born in Virginia. She's part Native American, which I learned like last few years. I didn't know that. So that was thing, and she's very vocal about that. And she's very talented. She played violin. She loves horseback riding, which I'm not scared of horses, but I'm like, okay.
I love horseback riding. Horses are my favorite animals. I used to go horseback riding all the time when I was little.
Oh my God, I did not know this.
I haven't been on it in a while. I haven't been on a horse in a while, but I love them. Like every time I see, I find out one of my friends is a police officer. He had a horse, and I was like, oh my God, can I pet him? Can I pet him? Yeah, he has a police horse.
Oh, that's dope. That is so cool. Yeah. Well, Mickie, she's a country singer, so I feel like her on a horse with a cowboy hat, it just makes all the sense.
Although it's cliche, it just makes sense, right?
Right. It just totally cliche. Yeah. So we just did, and if you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out, guys. We reviewed the Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Power 100 for the women, and I was happy to learn that in 2009, Mickie James was number 1 for that list. And I think it might have only been 50 women at this time. And then in 2011, she was Woman of the Year. She wasn't in WWE at this time. She was killing it in TNA. We're not going to cover her in TNA. We're just going to cover her in WWE. But she left WWE and really became even a bigger legend there. And then, Krista said she came back. And then another fun fact is that she was the second woman to hold both the Divas and the women's title. The first one was Michelle McCool. So she has a lot of history. In total, she was champion 9 times. And she's the only woman, and she's the only woman who held the WWE Women's Championship, the Divas Championship, and the Knockouts Championship during the time where those were the only kind of prominent women's championships. So I don't know. I thought that was dope.
That is dope. Don't sleep on Mickie James, okay? Like when she first came back and that pop happened, I'm just like, her music didn't register and then click with me right away. Like Trish Wood, like Lita Wood, China Wood, and I'm just like, what is happening? Who's Mickie James? And then when I saw her face, I'm just like, that's not who she was before. And then I went back and I'm like, oh, she was the crazy one. Got it. Understood.
Yeah. But did you so I guess when she came back that second time, did you like everything that they were doing with her?
At first, I like they were amping her up and they were like letting her show her accolades and letting her live up to her name. But then it was just like she's becoming Alexa's little puppet, or like a stooge to Alexa. Then you added Alicia Fox into the fold. So I'm just like, y'all really want to let her? And don't get me wrong, Alexa Bliss is great. She's amazing. I have my vices about her, but she's a good wrestler. But I just felt like they didn't utilize her to the best of their ability. And then, she got injured, and then she was gone. Then I last seen her at the last time we was able to go to a show, which was at Raw that Monday night at in Madison Square Garden, when she and I believe Byron Saxton was doing the 7:00 show. Main event, ringside for that. But other than that, I don't know. I feel like they didn't use her right. I feel like WWE has this thing of licking their wounds when they let somebody go and then they do well in other promotions. And I'm like, damn, I should never let her go. Let's bring her back. And then they bring her back, or they bring whoever back, they don't use them properly. They don't utilize them properly.
I agree. I totally agree. And I will say that they used Mickie James properly when she first came to WWE. in 2005, and this was definitely getting into that Ruthless Aggression era. And I didn't realize how far into the 2000s it was, because this is around the time I stopped watching wrestling. So I was like, okay, so when I was in high school, that's when Mickie made her debut, and she made her debut as Trish Stratus's stalker. And I don't know, most people know this, but it was not supposed to be Trish Stratus initially after Mickie James pitched the idea. It was supposed to be Lita. How do you feel about that? And how do you think it would have turned out if she was stalking Trish?
I feel like, first of all, for Mickie James to stalk Lita or to dress like Lita, it would just probably would have been weird to me.
Yeah, same.
Because Mickie James is dressing like Trish Stratus, trying to look like her, trying to, I don't know. I'm speechless on that one. I thought, Lita, really? I would have never guessed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just doesn't, like, Trish was just perfect. Like, she was the perfect person. And at the time, she was the champion. And I feel like targeting Trish just made more sense. And then I got to give it up to Trish, because she played her part in that whole feud so well, too. Being like okay, like, you're a fan. Okay. And then being like, okay, bitch, are you crazy? Like, two could play at this game. And it ended up being a really enticing feud for 8 months.
Right, a good feud. And then it just went to, Trish retiring, Lita kind of having, not Lita, sorry, Mickie kind of having that spotlight after, Trish's retirement and things like that. And then she soared. And when she soared, as you all have known before, may not have known, I've mentioned this before, like, I feel like a part of Mickie leaving the company is because she was picked on a lot. And I believe I had this discussion with you when I actually spoke to someone who's really close, who used to work in the company. And it just started on screen, like, with the bullying about her weight. And then behind the scenes, they was always talking about how voluptuous she was, how, how big her butt was, how thick and stuff she is. A girl, own your thickness. But at that time, it was just something that this was going from Ruthless into Diva era. And, Divas had to look like a Michelle McCool.
Exactly like Michelle McCool, maybe with a boob job.
And she just wasn't feeling comfortable there.
Yeah.
So they really let the ball drop with her after the fact of, after they dropped the ball with her while she was transitioning, while they were transitioning into Ruthless Aggression. From Ruthless to Divas. And it wasn't fair that she had to catch that end of the stick.
Yeah, and mind you, when you look at Mickie James, she's not fat. She's like a nice, normal sized, beautiful woman. So to hear the Piggy James jokes was like, especially back now, it's so cringe, because I'm just like, this girl is not fat. Like,
not at all.
Like, this ain't gonna work for me. So she went from debuting into like one of the greatest feuds and rivalries in WWE history to then going out on like a Piggy James storyline. It's like, that's WWE for you. Like, how it can really go from like that extreme to like another extreme.
Right, exactly. That's just so horrible for them to do to her like that. So, but I'm glad that she was able to find her foot in other wrestling promotions. She was in TNA, she was in Ring of Honor, and they loved her. Like I said earlier, WWE has a tendency of licking their wounds and be like, shit, we should have did it this way and not that way.
Yeah.
And now look, she came back and got injured, but then she's back again. So we'll see. Mickie James has a very storied career.
Yeah, she really does. And I'm excited to see if she does get another run, because she's feuded with a lot of good people. She's feuded with Molina during her time, Beth Phoenix, Lita, of course, Lay Cool, which was Michelle McCool, and Layla, Maurice. So this is, as you can see, the transition from Ruthless Aggression.
Did you say Maurice?
Yeah.
No, you sound like you said Maurice, like a guy, not Maurice. I'm like,
Was
you
it
say Maurice?
Maurice?
Oh, like, wait a minute, how did this even come about? Like, wait a minute, huh?
Maurice.
I mean, guys, we're tired. We've been working all day, so if we slur our words, just bear with us, okay? Thanks.
It's been a long few weeks, and
yeah,
it's funny. Like, we were like, okay, the Ruthless Aggression era is gonna start, and we gotta like really like go back and go back into Mickie James' career. And what I do love though about Mickie James and just going back into like the Divas era, because I do think the Divas era gets a bad rap, and so does the Ruthless Aggression era, but her and Alicia Fox started out around the same time, and as far as like developmental and stuff like that, and they really gained good friendship during that time, and she helped Alicia Fox in a lot of ways, I've learned, which was cool. And then Victoria, of course, so we're going to cover her in this series as well. And then it's funny because the Divas Championship, and there's no shade to it, but there's certain wrestlers for me that don't seem right with the Divas Championship. Like, it just seems like the Women's Championship feels like what Mickie James should be holding, not the Divas.
Divas, yeah. I agree, especially because not to separate or classify them in different, classes, but if you was to have someone like Michelle McCool definitely Women's Championship. Layla, Diva. Maurice, Diva. Even when it was still carried on with Nikki Bella was definitely Women's Championship material.
Oh, absolutely.
Not Divas Championship. Charlotte Flair. I mean, she did win the Women's Championship at WrestleMania, but
I mean,
right? Yeah, Charlotte Flair. Who else? It was just so many. Like Alicia Fox. Even though Alicia Fox was the first and only African American Divas champion. And though she was crazy, her character was crazy, she still wrestled her ass off.
Yeah.
Like, she was able to show up and show out in the ring. So it's definitely classified. It definitely should be separated, even though it sucks that it has to be separated.
Yeah, I agree. And I wish that they put more respect on Mickie James' name in WWE, like, now. Like, I don't like. So they did the story of the timeline episode on WWE Network. That was really good, talking about Trish and Mickey's feud. But I feel like they always talk about Mickie in the context of Trish Stratus, and I would love for them to acknowledge Mickie more as the legend that she is, because we listed some of her accolades and all the history that she's made as a women's wrestler, not even just in WWE. And I'm looking, and she had a championship match at WrestleMania, her very first WrestleMania. She won the women's championship from Trish Stratus. And it's like, who that was 22, like, who can, there's not many women that, even now with the evolution, there's not many women that can say that and debut on such a high note and be such a, like, we haven't even talked about how good of a wrestler she is yet.
Right. Because I feel like they don't want to put her in that category, especially now because she's older than what she was when she first debuted. What is she, like, in her 40s maybe? I'm going to say late 30s, early 40s, or probably like mid 40s. And so it's just like, well, we didn't put this under you before, so it's kind of like to put you under this now. But still go out there and still do a couple of moves here and there, and they're still gonna love you.
Yeah,
like they don't put respect on her. They don't give her the respect that she deserves. Like, and it's not fair to her. It's not fair to her fans either.
It's really. I'm so glad you said that, Krista. You're absolutely right. It's not fair to her fans, because when she had got injured before, she was in some pretty cool matches, like in that time frame between that Asuka match and when she got injured again. She was in the first Royal Rumble, had the iconic moment with Trish Stratus. She was in the first Elimination Chamber and killed it. She was in, I'm sure there's like so much more like history that she's made that is not noted anywhere, because, WWE,
they just don't want to give her that.
Exactly. But yeah, she is only 41, but you have Jeff Hardy that is, he's
41.
Freaking Undertaker. Look how long it took him to retire. And I mean, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, like, you don't think about age or talk about it as much with the men, but for some reason with Mickie, she's old. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, she's just as young as the current active roster. So,
I have to correct you on that.
What's up?
They do talk about age for the men just as much as the women, especially if that favorite character or wrestler is not performing up to par like they used to. Like Undertaker, everybody knew that his age was playing into effect. Everybody knew that his injuries was playing into effect when he came back and he won when he lost to Brock Lesnar at 30. Then when he WrestleMania 30, or not age 30. And then when he when you started to see like he was falling out some more, like the WrestleMania with 31, 32 against Roman Reigns. That wasn't a good one. I can't even watch that match to this day. It just broke my heart so bad. Yeah, I can't watch that. It was just like, what happened? Like, what happened? Even with Mick Foley, his hip, when he came back, when Evolution was beating him up, you can tell like he wasn't in the best shape, but he was there as well. Like he had a whole hip rotator out of place and he was still wrestling. So people do talk about age when it comes down to the men, only if it affects their performance.
Right.
Not in the sense of a woman where their performance could be in tip-top shape. They don't have to worry about, their kids can be 12, 13. Their kids could be old enough to take care of themselves. But it's just, okay, well, she's not as pretty as she was in her 20s. So that's why we don't hold her into the same regard as we hold the men because, they may be old, but they can still move and they still look hot. Like Jeff Hardy is 41. And he's moving like he's 21.
Right. Yeah.
Mickie James is too, but they're not looking at her like that. They're looking at her because women are put under a magnifying glass. So much more than a female. It's like, even before we got on here, we was like, oh man, how's our hair? Look at our face. How's this? How's that? Like the trolls were true was out.
Yeah.
A man can come on here wearing no shirt or ripped shirt, sit on his face and be fine. Like, really?
Yep. I see men on YouTube looking a certain way, and then you see the women, and then you can just tell how much more effort that they feel like they needed to put in to be like on camera. But the thing with Mickie James that's dope is that I feel like every time she comes back, she never lost a step. I don't see any ring rust. She comes back and she elevates the other women. And I think that's what I like about it. Like when she was feuding with Becky Lynch back in the day, or even when she first was shooting with Alexa Bliss, like just putting them against Mickie for me made me look at both of them at the time differently. Like, okay, like Mickie James really made them all look really good. Like I just thought of this random Mickie James meme or gif, whatever you want to call it, of Ember Moon giving her an eclipse. And the way Mickie sold that, like made me.
Yes, she's a great seller.
Right. It made me fall in love with Ember Moon's finisher because Mickie James sold it so beautifully. So just being able to see her.
Like the seller.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a great seller.
This podcast, I don't remember which one now, where like recently in the last few days, where she was talking about how important it is to be a good seller. Like that's what wrestling is all about. And I think about like Sasha, who I think is one of the best wrestlers in the world too. And how good of a she is, like it's really cool. And seeing her in like the Royal Rumbles and how she gets pops like every time she comes out always makes me happy because she is a legend. Like Mickie James is a legit legend.
Right. We even got to see her wrestle in place of Alexa Evolution. And that was a really good match too. So
that was so good.
And it was just like, Mickie James is literally fighting in our presence. And I didn't appreciate it then because I didn't watch it then. I stopped. But I'm so appreciating this right now. Like Mickie, y'all need to give her flowers.
Please.
Because she literally, if it wasn't, granted, if it wasn't for Trish, there'll probably be no Mickie. But if it wasn't no Mickie, there wouldn't be no Alexa. There wouldn't be no there wouldn't be no Becky, there wouldn't be no Ember like going up there like that. And people can definitely comment on what I'm saying and refute me on it. But if, like you said, if Mickie didn't sell those eclipses, or if she didn't sell her moves with Alexa, or if she didn't, train with these women and fight these women in there to boost them, like put them over, they really wouldn't be there, especially Becky before she was the man.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Definitely. And even when she came back to have that match with Asuka, so Asuka was in the middle of her fucking dope ass streak in NXT, her undefeated streak, and she was NXT Women's Champion. So they were bringing in a lot of women to just have one-offs with Asuka to see who could break her streak. So Mickie was supposed to just be a one-off match, but the match between her and Asuka at Takeover,
so
it was so good that she ended up getting a deal out of that one match.
That's actually, I swear we got to do an episode on these female takeover matches, because I feel like whatever they display in a ring, write that down, girl, write that down. Whatever they display in the ring, like at a regular show, a house show, and house show is a little bit different. You could be like a little bit more lax, or you could be a little bit more aggressive, But the fact that these women will literally put on these shows at a takeover. If we had that in Attitude Era, do you not know? Well, we need to have more women in Attitude Era too. Let me say that. But if we would have had that in Attitude Era, I don't think I would have ever stopped watching wrestling.
Yeah, same here for sure. Another history-making match that Mickie had. She had the first women's Full Count Anywhere match with
Molina
in 2007, and a lot of our followers on Twitter tweet a lot about that match. And that's another, another note that WWE doesn't mention, like especially with all the history-making matches like the 4 Horsewomen have had. It's like, it's very interesting, but. I also like about Mickie James is that she's different. Like she's not like any of the other superstars. Her gear is always different. Whether it's like the bell bottoms or the even pay-per-views, she shows out on pay-per-views with the gear.
She'll represent her native culture with her gear. With the feathers and the mohawks, and real true to herself. She's a true to self personality. That's what I love about her.
Me too. She's had 65 pay-per-view matches, which sounds insane, but I'm like,
that's the most out of all women?
No, Natty has the most. I'll find that stat somewhere, but yeah, she's had the most matches, I think, of any woman in WWE history or something like that, like in the thousands and thousands.
In the thousands. Natty was there longer than Mickie? Oh, Natty never left when she came.
Yeah, and then I think they count house shows, if I'm not mistaken. And then those random matches Natty will have on TV back, and they'll just.
But you said pay-per-view matches. I'm saying, does Mickie James have the most pay-per-view matches?
Natty has the most pay-per-view matches as well, but it's not in the thousands.
Oh, because my ass about ready to count like.
Right, I'm like crazy, right? And then I'm thinking like all of the the gimmick matches that Mickie James had on paper, the 1 minute things that they would do for the women back in the Ruthless Aggression era. There was those, and I'm sure I could see someone with the wrestling caliber of Mickie James, like once the Diva era started coming in and they started having all those like Santa Claus costume matches and stuff. I'm sure at some point Mickie James was like, this is really enough.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. This is fun, thank you, but I'm out.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so it's been really good being able to look back on Mickie James' career, what we personally really like about Mickie James. And you have mentioned it earlier, like she's, she is very independent. She is who she is. She owns it. She's a very successful country singer. And, I have a soft spot in my heart for the female wrestlers that have other talents and side gigs and stuff like that. So I love that she's, you know, been able to perform and win country music awards. Like, that's dope.
That's dope. I also feel like I said, y'all need to give Mickie her flowers because they are long overdue. WWE needs to put more respect on not just Mickie James, all the women who are literally like busting their ass day in, day out for them to keep the company afloat, especially during this pandemic.
Yeah.
I wonder if she will make a surprise appearance. Was she drafted?
She was not drafted, which was another thing her fans, including myself, was very frustrated about.
So maybe she'll be on Team SmackDown.
That would be great because she is, I want to say, undefeated at Survivor Series. I believe Mickie James is undefeated at Survivor Series. So it's kind of odd that this is like the one year that she's not on any Survivor Series team. But that's such a good idea. And I would love it if she did that. Like, I would be so...
When this episode comes out, because it's coming out sooner than you guys think, I need for all of you to go to Twitter, hashtag we want Mickie on Team SmackDown for Survivor Series. Add everybody you need to add. And let's get this ball rolling because we got Bianca, we got Ruby, and we got Liz.
Ooh,
Mickey's
imagine
added to that fold. Yeah. Period. Like, I don't know how I feel about Team Raw right now because I'm just like, or if Mickie, I wouldn't even be surprised if Mickie came and took Lana's spot.
I would not mind that, actually.
Me neither.
I wouldn't mind that at all. Because they had Mickie, when she came back just this year, they had her do a little kind of feud with Natty and Lana, which I really was committed to for a little while. So that would be dope.
Right. So we just gotta see because yeah.
And we need her to be a champion, and we need Mickie James in the Hall of Fame.
Definitely, hands down. Hands down. Anything else before I wrap up?
This was a good start. No, I don't think I do, but yeah, no. This is a start to, I think, our Ruthless Aggression series because we go from the Attitude Era where you had a few, well, check out our series. You'll see what the mix was with women. And now we're going into the mid 2000s and now we're going to see like a whole different crop of women that represented a whole different kind of era. And then we'll go into the Divas era, which I'm especially excited about because there's a lot to say there.
Right. And maybe I'll come up with another saying and it could be added on another shirt.
Yes.
And speaking of shirts, we got merch out right now. Please go support. Please buy. Shout us out. Thank you to PJ of Face Beat Hills Hot Pod because she had such a great input. She helped us with the designs of our shirts, our mask, our pillows. Anything you want is up there. Whatever you don't see up there, just let us know. We'll see what we can do. But yes, go shop TWG merch. I'm about to buy about 4 hoodies.
I need a hoodie.
Right, I need a hoodie. I need an Attitude Era F'd Us Up hoodie, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that. That was the spotlight on Mickie James. And on that note, it's your girl, Krista B.
And Queen PR.
And we are out. Bye.